Well, welcome to the Christy Jones Show, where it's all about living your life to the fullest. I'm a life coach, speaker, and business owner in multifamily real estate, and I've had wild success in multifamily housing for over 25 years now. I am so passionate about helping others merge their success and lead a fulfilling life, and I bring it all together right here on this podcast. So join me and let's get started to live your life to the fullest. Well, hey, my friend, welcome back to another week of the Christy Jones Show. All the things to live your life to the fullest. Thanks for joining me here today. So I'm recording this in beautiful, beautiful spring weather. It's April. This will drop in about another week. So I hope the weather holds up. But I don't know about you, but man, I love when we're coming out of winter. I'm just not a winter girl. I just am not a winter cold weather kind of girl. I can handle it, but I don't love it. And I need sunshine. And right now I'm staring out the window of my office and the sky is blue, the sun is out. So I'm hoping that you're getting a dose of sunshine today too. All right, so here's what we are going to jump into today. And the reason, I'm going to share the reason too why I decided to do this, because it's not what I had planned to record for the podcast today. But I'm paying attention to, what's going on around me, to the people that I meet on the street and the conversations that come up. And so I said, I got to talk about this today. We're going to talk about ways to calm your nervous system. We're going to talk stress affects our nervous systems. Our nervous system runs and regulates our entire body. I know a thing or two about this because in the last 10 years, let's see, it would have been about 2013, 2014, my nervous system started, which I didn't know that's what it was. I was having a multitude of health problems. And some of them ended up being so debilitating that, and I'm a healthy person. I don't have any chronic illnesses, health issues. And so I really got taken down the trail for quite a while and nervous. It was a lot of neurological issues. Ended up being a lot of it. How I got better and healed was healing my nervous system, figuring out how to calm my nervous system. There was a plethora of reasons of why I kind of hit the wall, and I'm not going to go into that today. If you've been around a while, you know some of them. But 2013 was a major transitional year for me, and held it that year. Had a big event happen that just stirred up so much grief for me. And I think that layered on all these other things, my body just shut. It was like, we're done. We are done here. So I had a lot of healing work to do. And I spent a good amount of my 40s doing the work. And so I want to talk about today about healing your nervous system, because people around me in my inner circle, outer circle, on the circumference of my life, I just see people are dealing with a lot of things are going on right now in their lives, for them personally, maybe in business. Even strangers that, when I say strangers, but people that I'm just meeting in day-to-day coming and goings. And if a conversation strikes up, I'm just amazed at, and I don't take this lightly, but I'm amazed at when someone shares something with me that is, really because I'm able to hold the space for them. And I feel like they can sense that. Even if they haven't even known me that long, that is one of my really strong abilities and gifts, is that I am very effective at holding safe space for someone to process something, to talk about it. And so I see that come up a lot in just my day-to-day life. So reflecting today on some of those conversations, how much of it goes back to managing stress and calming your nervous system. So I've been having this repetitive conversation, not only with people that I coach, but also outside of that. Like I said, just people that I'm meeting that, in fact, I had a conversation the other day with a beautiful young lady who's challenged in right now. She didn't think she would have a challenging time, her and her husband getting pregnant and having their first child, but she is finding out that it's not going quite like she had thought. And so she's having to explore some different avenues. And in that conversation, just some of the things that she shared, it's our body is so smart. And the things that we can do to help it along, like it, even in her situation, or like in my case, 8, 9, 10 years ago, the things that we can do on a regular basis to calm our nervous system. Because when our nervous system is operating, and by the way, in that conversation with her, I immediately gave her some resources and some tools that she could look into to implement to start calming her body down. And while she's taking steps on these other measures to conceive a child. Because when our body is in that fight or flight mode, and we are doing, other things that maybe our doctors are telling us to do, and we're doing the thing. But if we are not coming to that space with a calm, healthy nervous system, if we are not managing our side of the fence, meaning our stress level, it makes it really hard for these other techniques and tools and all these things that we have as resources for them to work at the capacity that they can work at. So something that we can all do to just better our well-being, whether you're going through something challenging right now or not, is to pay attention to what you can do to calm your nervous system. Your nervous system affects, think about it, if you're feeling anxious, your nervous system ties in to mental health. When we have challenges there, there's so much that we could be doing, and I want to share some of those tips with you today. So that's the point of this podcast. I'm going to share tips with you today on how to calm your nervous system so you can make sure that on your side of the fence, you're doing everything you can to take care of nourishing your body, nourishing your brain. So much of this is brain health. So much of this is brain health. I learned so much about the brain when my dad had his traumatic brain injury. When he fell from I think it was, they said 10 or 13 feet and onto the concrete below, and had a bad head injury as a result. And going through that journey with him on recovery was so, it's hard to even put it into words, because to watch a human be resilient and do the work to get better was awe-inspiring, to say the least. Courage at its highest level. But also to see, for me to learn things from these specialists, from all the people that poured into him on how the brain works, the different areas of the brain, how they communicate to one another, how the body wants to heal. And so I want to share with you today something that you can have at your fingertips anytime you want it to calm your nervous system. All right, so let me start by saying that one of the first things that come to mind about the nervous system is, I believe the nervous system craves space and it craves silence. So much of your day might be just jam-packed with noise, with things to do, with people, with demands. But your nervous system wants space. It needs silence. It doesn't need the TV on in the background 24/7. It doesn't need the constant chattering noise 24/7. It needs space and it needs silence. And when you gift yourself those two things, your body just, it recognizes it, it responds, it craves it, and it clings to it. It's like, think of it, it's kind of just takes a breath and goes, ah, oh, thank God. I have a breather. I have a breather moment. So the nervous system craves space and silence, I believe. I used to, in times, especially when my life got super chaotic, think about it. If you are, running hard at your career, you're raising kids, you have a family, you have, your partner, all the things that you take care of in the home that are your responsibilities, male or female, doesn't matter. We all have things that we take care of, right? We don't really think about it, but they're things we do. And then you've got kids and you're pouring into that. And then you have your career and you're pouring into that. And so it's a lot of activity and a lot of noise. In that time of my life, I learned that, and I'm an extrovert, but an introvert. I actually refuel by being around nobody and having silence. I have to have that, like that precious little capsule of time in order to reset and recharge. And obviously, it wasn't like a whole day, but Sundays were my day that I had to find. It just could be an hour, but I had to have silence, and it just had to be still. And that, in the really, really pressing times, I found ways to carve in silence in the early morning hour, or maybe sometimes in the late night hour. But that helped regulate for me that nervous system and that stress level. So silence and space, I have found, have been like, they do wonders. They do wonders. So that's a great starting point. All right. So take note of a few things that I'm going to share with you that you're going to want to have these in your toolkit. You always talk about having a toolkit in life. So you are better prepared to how to navigate day-to-day life. We all need to have these tools. So, and these aren't ever really taught to us. We don't go to school and they don't teach you these things. These are things that you have to seek out as part of your personal development, as part of your wellness for your mind, body, and spirit. These are things that you have to search out and learn, because we don't get taught these growing up. We usually learn by trial and error. All right. So one of the things I wanted to share with you is, and I've been talking about this so much with the people that have been sharing with me lately on what's going on with them, and the doctors are coming back and they've actually been told by the doctor, it's your nervous system, it's stress. Stress is causing this. Stress is the main thing behind XYZ, whatever their diagnosis was. And so it's really important, so important for us to manage stress. I want to invite you to learn about sound baths, or it's also called sound bowl healing. I did an entire podcast on this. I think it is episode 35. I will be sure and put it in the show notes. I did an entire episode last year on sound bowl healing. It's also referred to as sound baths, but it is, for me, I discovered this in 2015, and literally this, along with other practices that I was doing, but sound bowl healing was, I just by chance stumbled upon it in a class, and it literally is what helped reset my nervous system. And I had no idea. At first I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I thought I was going to yoga class. And I was actually in a sound bowl healing class. And I felt so entirely different at the end of that first session, but I didn't know what to call it or how I couldn't put my finger on it. I just knew I felt different. I kept going and I kept repeating, like I would think I was going twice a week. I was going twice a week at that time. And over time, and then I started learning about it. And also I remembered that when my dad was going through like his rehab recovery for his head injury, it was in a different type of setting. It's in a doctor's office. It's a very clinical setting, white walls, a desk, put on the headphones, and they would send different like octave levels of sound, and he would sit through like a 45-minute session of, they called it sound therapy. And so I started going, oh my, and it was very helpful for him. He did it a lot at home as well. They gave him specific things to listen to with the headphones. And then he and I would go to the sessions at the clinic. I think once a week was in session. And so although it was in a much more, like in a doctor's office, so it had a different feel to it, it was the same thing. So this was with sound bowls, and different wavelengths are in different like octaves as they make the bowl with the wand that they take around the bowl, and it creates the vibration and creates the sound. I went, oh my gosh, this is the same thing, different setting, much more relaxed atmosphere. You're laying down, you've got a weighted blanket on you. The lights are dim. It's a very, very calm environment. It's a very healing environment. So sound baths or sound bowl healing, go listen to episode 35. It'll be down in the show notes. It's 35 or 36. And I did an entire podcast on that. And I brought in an expert sound bowl healer. She and I have known each other for quite some time, and I went through my restorative yoga teacher training she and I were partners in that and graduated at the same time. And she was already doing sound bowl healing and had continued on to do sound bowl healing. Her work is amazing. And I brought her onto the podcast so she could really dive deep into it. So take a listen to that episode. The other thing to calm your nervous system, second thing I want to say, is breathing techniques. Breathing techniques, your breath is the quickest way to calm your nervous system. The great thing about it is you can do it absolutely anywhere. Absolutely anywhere. So proper breathing and going into a specific type of breathing to immediately calm the body, lower your stress, and relax your nervous system is something you can do anywhere at any time. I would love to have Redford of Jones Performance come back on the podcast and talk about that at more length. He, with Jones Performance and the athletes that he works with, he talks about this a lot and utilizes this in their training for the kickers and punters. I love to hear him talk about it. So fingers crossed I can get him back on to dive deeper into that. But breathing techniques is one of the quickest ways you can calm the nervous system. I have a couple videos on YouTube. I will also get those linked in the show notes down below. And there are, very, very simple things that you can do. I think I've got 2 breathing techniques that I recorded, and those are great resources for you to go to. Another thing to calm your nervous system, this can be no surprise, okay? What am I always saying? Move your body. Move your body. If you follow me on social media, I sound like a broken freaking record. I'm always like, are you going to move your body today? Are you going to move your body today? Let's move our body today. Because I'm such a big believer in it. Movement is everything. Movement is like breath, like well, they go together. Our breath and moving our body, those are like peanut butter and jelly, right? They go together. When we move our body, we are helping our body, our nervous system release. So it doesn't matter what type of movement you want to do. You can do yoga. I believe strength training is amazing for our nervous system. Um, but find what works for you. But you've got to be moving your body to help calm your nervous system. Have you ever noticed when you're starting to feel tense, if you just go for a walk, go for a run, do something where you exert a lot of energy, all of a sudden you feel a lot better. So there's so much, and there's so much science to back that up. So move your body. Another thing I would like to suggest is weighted blankets. Have you heard of weighted blankets? Do you already use one? They are phenomenal. They are, and that weight that just lays on your body as you're laying down, it instantly calms the nervous system. I have a quilt that my grandma had made for me, and I think it was my 18th birthday when I got it. And all the kids back then, her grandkids, when they turned 18, they got this massive quilt. And I swear to goodness, the thing weighs like 40 pounds. It's it's called a puff quilt or a biscuit quilt. And so all these squares are stuffed and the thing fits like on a king size bed. And it's really, really cool. I still have mine. I'm very protective of it. I've not let anybody touch it. Only I get to use it. And it's made from all the dresses. We had a lot of our clothes sewn for us. And so a lot of the patches on the quilt are things like from dresses and clothing that I had as a little girl. And so, and also other things. I mean, grandma just had fabric everywhere. But that blanket is so heavy, literally you could like suffocate yourself if you're not careful. I have always gone to that blanket. I keep it tucked away in a closet. But when I have had anxiety, when I've been under a lot of stress, when I haven't felt well, just, immune system's down, which, hello, stress affects our immune system. Um, Anything like that, I have gone and drug that blanket out. And I've done this for years since I was, like 18 years old. I used that blanket and put that blanket on me because I always thought it was more like the emotional thing, like, oh, my grandma made this for me and it just relaxes me. And all the years I never knew. I just knew when I wasn't feeling well or I was anxious or stressed out, if I put that blanket on me, I just started to feel so much better. And recently, as in like the last 6 years, 5 or 6 years, I started learning about weighted blankets. They're a real thing. And I thought, I've had my own weighted blanket all this time. And so now then I was starting to understand, like, that's why I would always calm down because the thing weighs 40 pounds. But seriously, weighted blankets, they're a real thing. You can go to Amazon, go find you a weighted blanket, try it out. Trust me, you are going to feel like, why have I not had one of these sooner? Some people sleep with them that have sleeping issues. I have heard of friends that sleep with the weighted blanket on a regular basis. That personally would like drive me crazy. I can't do that all the time. But also, if you've been to like a relax and restore yoga, like a restorative yoga class, if you've done something like that, sometimes those studios have weighted blankets, and the yoga teacher or practitioner will come over as you're in, the laying. If you're in a laying pose or if you're in a leaning pose where you're supported by the ground, they will cover you with a weighted blanket. And oh my gosh, it is the best. And the reason they do that is because the weight of that blanket calms your nervous system. So check out weighted blankets. Meditation. I've talked about meditation a lot in my coaching, here on the podcast, on my social media channels. Some people are like, hey, I can't do it. I'm not interested. If you are interested in it, lean into it. It doesn't have to be 20 minutes. It can be 2 minutes. It is a way to calm all the activity in your mind. Focus on your breath. Just sit and focus on your breath. Try that if you're just starting out. Just sit and focus on your breath and stop thinking that like, oh my gosh, I'm meditating. I can't be thinking about anything, because I had one time a client had said, I can't do the meditation because a thought comes in. And I've said, that's okay. Like a thought's still gonna, our brains, it's hard to shut them down. What ends up making people anxious is they go, oh my gosh, I just had a thought. Oh, I'm thinking about all the things I'm supposed to be doing. Just relax. Let the thought come. Don't worry about it. Okay, I just thought of the 3 things I need to add to my list tomorrow. I just realized that I needed to, you know, add some things to this list that when I go to Target later. Thought comes. I always just thank the thought. Thank you for reminding me, but you can go now. I literally tell myself that. Thank you for showing up, but it's okay. Let it come. Don't get stressed out just because you're thinking of something. Because what that does is it just perpetuates. Now you're getting all stirred up. This is like defeating the whole purpose of why you're trying to sit and be still. Just think of meditation as just sitting in stillness and just focus on your breath. Just begin there. See how that feels. Calming your nervous system. Hey, laughter. Hello. Who doesn't love to laugh? I mean, go to your phone, find your favorite comedian, watch some of their videos, get yourself cracked up over it, turn on a movie if you want. Laughter helps calm your nervous system. So turn to that. Body work, that's another big one. I'm a big proponent of body work. When I say body work, I'm talking about different types of massage. Could be regular Swedish massage is kind of like the basic thing, but there's so many different types of body work that you can have done. And there's lymphatic drainage massages are really like easy breezy. I mean, they're just easy, but so beneficial for your body. So beneficial for your body. But touch and massage help calm your nervous system. So if you are able to integrate some sort of schedule where if it's once a month, you can do that, I would highly recommend it. When I was going through that like 9-year period where I was dealing with anxiety, panic attacks, grief, my body just doing all kinds of crazy things, having a neurologist, everyone trying to figure out what was going haywire in my body. At that time, I was very fortunate, but I did weekly massages for a short amount of time because I couldn't feel in my fingers and my hands, in my feet. The touch and the massage therapy, it was helping kind of regenerate. I could just feel so much better after having a session. And massage is healing and calming your nervous system. So look into that. And once a month is great. Every other week is great. I mean, you listen to what your body's telling you and follow that, because our intuition is so, so smart. So smart. We just have to tune into it. Another great, super simple thing. You're like, Christy, I can't do massages right now. Either I can't budget for it or, I don't have time for it, which both of those, I feel that you can find a workaround if you want to. But let's say you're not ready to do that. So take a hot bath. When I say hot, I like the super hot water. To me is extremely calming. So warm to hot, whatever works for you. But get your body in water. Water, period, is so healing. So put your body in water. If it's summertime and you want to get in the pool, move in the pool. let the water heal you. Let the movement and the buoyancy of that water, let it do its work to your nervous system. Take a bath in the evening before bed to calm your nervous system. You will get such good, restful sleep the more you can do practices that calm your nervous system. Another great thing to do that just popped in my head because I do this from time to time is at night, lay on the floor and put your feet, your legs with your feet in the air up on the wall. So try to visualize that. So you're laying on the floor and you basically scoot up to the wall, and then so your legs are straight up in the air with the wall supporting them. That is extremely calming to do for your nervous system. Just hold that for just a couple minutes, whatever you feel like you can tolerate, and it does wonders. It's a great, great thing to do before you go to bed. So those are just kind of my immediate go-tos before I, decided I was going to talk about this spontaneously today. But those are my immediate go-tos on what you can do to calm your nervous system. Those are easy, practical, anybody can do them kind of things. So put that in your toolkit and know that you have the ability, okay, to calm your nervous system. You have the ability to manage your stress. There's so many resources available to you at your fingertips with things that choices you can make, like today, that you can do right away. So we have to get out of the thought. I was sharing this with someone the other day. We have to get out of the thought of that I'm just I'm a nervous wreck. Like everything's just going crazy, and that you're like on the victim side of that. That everything's happening to you. That you can't manage your stress. You can't calm your nervous system, which you're probably not using that language. You're probably just saying you feel, you're just wired up. You can't, you're racing thoughts. You're just worrying all the time. You're just amped up. Your nervous system needs a break. It needs a break. So do things that are going to help your body restore, relax, and calm your nervous system. I talk a lot about the vagus nerve when I talk to people about this. I'm not going to go into it here, but if you're familiar with the human body or you already know what the vagus nerve is, the vagus nerve is extremely, extremely important. And I call it, it's like all the operating systems in our body, digestive, cardiovascular, the vagus nerve is tapped into every single one of those. So the better we regulate and calm the vagus nerve, the better the whole body is going to operate. That's like in simple everyday terms, that's how I like to describe it. So if you want to read more about the vagus nerve, if you want to know more about the vagus nerve, reach out to me. But definitely, if you're having nervous system issues, your stress levels high, all the things, educate yourself on that because it's mind-blowing. It really is. Before I wrap our little anti-stress talk here, that really it's anti-stress, but calm your nervous system. Calm your nervous system. I want to share with you a few things that I use. And again, I'm sharing what I've learned and what's worked for me to basically give you some food for thought and to look into what might work for you because you are your best advocate for what your body needs. And so I've learned over time what worked for me and what worked to help my body and my nervous system operate at its best capacity. So here's a few things that I found. So omega-3, so I'm talking about supplements now. I'm talking about things that I have taken or do that I have found to be helpful. And so it's going to be the omega-3 fatty. It's the huge one. I hate how big they are. There's another way you can take it, but I don't like that either. So, um, but omega-3 really does benefit your nervous system. Yes, you can get that obviously in a lot. There's certain fish, like I love salmon, but I don't eat salmon on a very regular basis. I just don't. So I pay attention that if I'm not getting enough omega-3 fatty in my diet, then I know that I need to step it up and supplement with that. So again, that's for you. There's all of this can be handled through nutrition. But if you are not getting it through your nutrition, then that's when you might have to kind of supplement with what you're not getting enough of through your food. So omega-3s were super helpful for my nervous system. Magnesium, really helpful for my nervous system. Just a side note, I found that I would take my magnesium in the evening because it seems to really relax me and make me a little sleepy. So I didn't like taking it in the morning. So that's a nighttime one for myself. And I also found my B vitamin levels to be really important with how my nervous system was feeling. So your B vitamins I had found to be really important. In this whole process of those years where I was working through that, I worked with a nutritionist. I had blood panels. I knew levels of I mean, it was pages long, everything in my body. So we monitored everything a lot, and I got very familiar with how I felt when my numbers were here and how I felt my body was operating and all the neurological things when my body was in these numbers. So it took a lot of time. It took a lot of time, but I found kind of what that sweet spot was for me. And so those were three things that I had just made note of earlier that when I think back to three items that I had to pay closer attention to. My vitamin D also was something that was horribly low at the time. And so that wasn't helping nervous system matters either. And so vitamin D that's just like, I know exactly where my number needs to be, what range I need to be in. And it's definitely on the higher side, but it's not just for nervous system. That's just like my whole operating system needs my vitamin D levels to be in a certain sweet spot. So omega-3, magnesium, and vitamin B, those are things to look into and pay attention for yourself when it comes to calming your nervous system. A few other over-the-counter things that I found helpful. There was a couple herbal teas, ashwagandha tea, which is an herbal tea. It, I'm not taking that now, but when I was kind of in the thick of it and in the trenches when it came to my health and my nervous system, I leaned on that tea, ashwagandha tea, herbal tea. And it really just had, I had read and the functional medicine doctor I had worked with, it was known to help strengthen the nervous system. And ginseng is another plant that is, you might want to look into, and like ginseng tea, and there's other ways to get the ginseng plant as well. But that one too seemed to have some effects, although I ended up landing on the ashwagandha tea more. And that seemed to be what I leaned on at the time. And I just wove that in because I drink hot tea in the evening. So at that time, I just made sure that I, incorporated that into my routine. And then I'm a big believer in green tea, love green tea. Green tea, yes, it has a lot of properties that help support our nervous system. Um, but aside from that, green tea, I just feel like is beneficial for us in so many ways. And I like the flavor of it. It's obviously I try not to drink it in the evening just because of the little bit of caffeine and everything, but the antioxidant benefits, green tea is just from what I read, green tea just has a lot of the characteristics that I'm like, I think I want that. I think I want to feel that way. So green tea has been a really easy thing to incorporate into my daily routine. So those are just, I wanted to share those for things that if you're wanting to look at other ways to calm your nervous system, look into those. Now, again, I'm sharing what I've learned and not out, you're going to figure out the best solution for yourself. But those are some of the things that I had learned along the way that were helpful for me. So I really wish that there was someone when I was at that phase, that decade of my life, and I was trying to work through that. I really wish there was someone that kind of had the short list of look into these things as well as work with your neurologist, all the formal things that I was doing. But I knew there was a lot of other things that I could be adding on there. And I had great doctors. They were extremely supportive and I shared information with them um, and it was great. And it was so great to finally be on the other side of that and for my body to have healed and the nervous system was calm. But in everyday life, you and I still deal with stressors and we deal with things that get us worked up, or all of a sudden you're just running at 100 miles an hour and you think you're holding it all together until you just hit the wall, right? So pay attention because your nervous system is giving you signs and signals, your body is. So to tune into what your body's telling you. Don't ignore it. Listen to it. Know what feels right and what doesn't feel right. It even goes down to eating. Like, what foods do you eat that really make you feel good? And then what are the foods that you eat that make you feel like crap? So it's just don't eat as much of the foods that make you feel like crap. I mean, your body is giving you messages all the time. So it's our job to tune into that and to pay attention. So I hope that you take this list and just kind of put it in your toolkit of ways of how you can calm your nervous system, ways that you can kind of manage your stress, things that you can do to build yourself up so you can show up in your life every day as the best version of you, not the worn out, sick and tired, you know, all the things, right? That's no fun. So figure out what works for you. Try some of these things that I've offered today and see if it doesn't calm your nervous system. All right, I'll put some of the links I talked about in the show notes below. If you have any questions or you want to talk further on any of this, do reach out to me, drop me an email, shoot me a message in DMs, and I look forward to hearing from you. All right. Well, until next week, my friend, have a fabulous week. As you know, my podcast drops every Thursday. So I will see you back here next week. In the meantime, go make the most of it. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. I just want to thank you for tuning in today to the podcast. And I hope you've enjoyed the conversation and all the info that's been shared today. And I hope you've come away with a few ideas on how to make the most out of it for your life. If you loved this episode, be sure to share it with your friends and family. And also make sure you subscribe to the podcast and tap that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Also, it would mean the absolute world to me if you would leave a podcast review. So until next time, my friend, keep flourishing and thriving and live your life to the